Hello everyone, it is Christine here and I'm going to be working on a very special Stitchery swap square for the lovely Giusi from Italy. So you'll only be seeing this video once Giusi has actually received her square, so it's probably going to be a good few weeks from now when it actually gets played. But it's a few weeks now before Christmas, so hopefully it might even make it there in time for Christmas. The main thing with the Stitchery swap, which is part of the great big little Stitchery swap being hosted by Annie Claxton, is that we need to get everything posted by the end of the year, and then people might still be receiving them into the new year. So I wanted to pick out a really lovely fabric. I fell in love with this fabric so much that when I bought one remnant of it, I actually then rebought a second remnant, not remembering that I'd already bought one. So I know for sure that I love it because I've bought it twice over from, I can't remember if this one was from the Sewing Lair or the Purveyor of Reclaimed Textiles. Not sure. And so what I did was just tore out a little section of the fabric. I kind of picked out which of the flowers I wanted, and I decided I wanted one of these lovely flowers with some strawberries. So I just like when I'm sort of picking my piece, and each of our pieces need to be about 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. And I like to leave mine with a raw edge. I've just used a tiny bit of Yoo-hoo glue just to tack it down to my lovely vintage backing fabric, which is a beautiful vintage bedspread, which I've just frayed the edges on. So that's ready. I did put a little pull through when I was actually tearing it, but that's not going to be a problem because I'm thinking I'm going to add some lovely vintage lace along the bottom. I've got this little skerrick from a very old piece of lace that I got from a lady in Tasmania, and it had actually originally come from England. So it's funny to be sending it back over to that side of the world, but isn't that the way that textiles travel around the world? So I'm thinking this will go on the bottom, and I'll probably trim it off along that side, leave it a little bit squiggly because I like the sort of the organic look of it. I found this little flower when I was cleaning up, so thought I might add that in. It's just on a tulle backing, but I'll just trim it down a smidgeroo, and I thought that could sort of sit somewhere down here. And I've also got a sweet little button as well. It's a lovely shell button. I can never decide whether I put them that way or the other way, but I think in this case I do want the little gleam coming out from there. Now I've made myself, well not made myself, made for Giusi, a little piece that I'm planning to put up the top, and it will flip over and it will have my little French laundry labels spelling out love, CO, and my initials, and some lovely little strawberries as well. So I'll probably end up stitching that sort of just at those points or around here, so it can then just fold over. I'll just position it so that it's sort of pretty much straight when it does that. So a bit, probably almost, yep, about like that probably. But then I was thinking, how can I add some more layers? Because I love to kind of get layers in my pieces. So there's just lots of nice little surprises. And I have some of this beautiful, beautiful lace. And what I did was just cut out a little section of it and then worked out which little bit I wanted. So this is just from one of the little blooms that you can see there. And then I thought I could put it, now which way up does it go? At the front? Sometimes I straight, no, that's the front. It's got a bit more detailing on it. So I was thinking I might put it just a bit like that. And then, as I mentioned, I'll have this here. So that will flip up. You'll be able to see some of the design, but then you've kind of just got that interest of something else behind as well. And that will kind of encourage someone looking at it to just have a little peek behind. And then I was thinking I want to put some sort of lace or something along the top. And I had actually found a perfect little bit of lace, which I have now gone and misplaced again. It was just a tiny little bit of mesh, but I'm not sure where that's gone now. So Isn't it the way you find something and it disappears on you? Do you have that problem where it just drifts away? I'm looking on the floor because that's where I found it yesterday. Unless it's here. No, I don't think it's here. So maybe we could even use a little bit of this vintage lace. That could be sweet across the top as well. Bit like that. And then I was thinking I might get something off this little, these are my little lace winders that I've made, and I've got some beautiful old vintage tatting which I could use, or I could use, I'd just like to add something sort of as a little framing piece down this side, or even that one. Let's have a look. Maybe this smaller one would be better actually. Just want something that's going to sort of extend up that side. That's quite sweet. I've got another one over here as well, which has this little one that's rather darling also on it. And it reminds me a little bit of a window frame, so I think that could be quite sweet. And I love that it's got the little flower elements. I think I'll go with that one. I'll put the pin back in. Keep everything nicely sorted when you've gone to the effort to present them beautifully on their little cards. You want to return them to the state in which you found them. They're just my sweet little lace cards, and I've shown how I've made those in another video, so I'll just put these over to the side. And so will this still, I think the colours of this will work because it's sort of got a whiter colouring. This one's a slightly off-white, that will be a slightly off-white along the top. I do wonder where my little piece that I'd found went, but that's okay. I'm not going to stress about it. It was literally just a little scrap that I found on the floor that's obviously decided that no, it is going to drift away and be found again for another craft another day, so that's okay. Let's just take a little skerrick of this. So those will be my sort of adding pieces, but I think I'll probably do my thread painting of the flower first and then come back and stitch these down. I'll know that, yeah, I'll be covering some of it up, but I think I want to do all the thread painting underneath anyway. So let me take these ones off, and then let's get stuck into a bit of thread painting. Now let's find a needle that we'd like to use for thread painting. So I picked out some threads that I think are going to be good colour coordinating. Whether I'm going to go this pink, or I think I'm a bit more inclined to use a reddy colour for my darker. Yeah, I think red might work slightly better. I don't have an exact, I thought I have so many threads, but I don't seem to have an exact for the darker. And then I've got this lovely variegated aurifil, which could be quite good as well. And then I've got a variegated yellow, which I think I'll use for the stamens in the middle. So maybe we'll even start with the stamens to kick ourselves off, and then we'll go from there. Can you hear the birds chortling outside? It's that dusk time. The sky is illuminated pink on the clouds, and the birds are singing. I think I want to start it on this slightly darker bit. Put my notch about there. So I might do some French knots first of all, and I might even, just having a look if I've got some yellow beads to intersperse with them. are a few yellow beads in my little bead container here. So I did about three wraps for those little ones. The bird's getting quite vocal now out there. Don't know if there's some people walking by, so maybe they're telling the people to stay away from their little babies. So doing little French knots. Could do pistol stitches, which are basically longer stitches with a little French knot on the end. All those Jennifer Clouston does. You can just do your French knots first and then add your long stitches afterwards, or vice versa. So I do like to kind of plan out my pieces, but then allow flexibility as I go along. If I do find that other little piece of lace before I'm stitching it down, I can always bring that back into the mix. So I hope you're having a great day, great evening. Hopefully you're creating or thinking about creating. It is such a gift when we get to have that downtime and just be at peace with our work. I just find my breathing slows down and I just go into my happy zone when I enter the craft room. I was thinking today, I can't remember the last time I've actually watched a movie or TV. I just tend to craft and either make videos or watch other creatives crafting while I do more crafting myself. Probably a bit strange, sounds a bit strange to folks, but makes me happy. Don't have to see any unpleasant things. Just see people in their happy places, stitching away. So let's add a few beads, because I've spotted I've got a few yellow beads. So let's throw them into the mix. And I was thinking I could even put some goldy yellow beads in as well, because I think I can spy some of those in there. So we'll just add a bit of variety. This is just a big mix of beads, but just before actually I managed to drop one of my little bead tins on the floor. Haven't tackled that yet. I'll have to painstakingly remove them, pick them up one by one. I think they even fell into a bag as well in the process. The joys of beads. That's a very small one, so that one we're just going to leave and move on. And in fact now I've hit, so isn't it funny, sometimes you go so well and then you just manage to hit a bit of a run of beads that don't want to fit down. This isn't a beading needle I'm using, so that would be why. But sometimes I just like to keep using the needle I've got, and if I can, I will. So maybe 3 little beads like that, and then I'll just have a look if we've got, and there's this goldy colour. I'm not sure if that will be too garish. Let's have a look if I can catch it. Come here, little bead. I think it's quite nice with a bit of gold. A little bit of bling, not too much bling, just a little bit. And I just need to have a hunt round for a few more goldy beads, not the big ones. That's too big. Got long goldy beads, and I got some more little goldy beads. Surely if I found one, there's got to be another one in here somewhere. That one. That's a bit too big, I think. There's a little one. That's what I want. Managed to pull out a sequin in the process, and they always want to stick to your fingers. There it goes, trying to stick to my finger, and now it's still on my finger. Go away, sequin. Okay, I'm going to leave you over on the match because otherwise you're going to haunt me, aren't you? Oh, it's a different gold, but that's okay. I think that's all right. Now I can go back through these beads with a second stitch just to secure them down. What's that one? That's a little bronzy bead. Why not? Because you do get those different colours on your little stamens in the centre. I think that earlier one that I put on was a little bit too silvery, in fact, so I might go back. I'll keep this one there, but we'll take that one off, I think. Let's see if we can find, I'm just going to bring it up a bit closer to my eyes. Oh, and this was the other bit that I planned to put on up the top, which is one of my little bird's nesty sort of collections of threads, and one of my little miniature Suffolk puffs. Oh, and I've just found the piece that, there it was hiding under the bead tray. So I was planning to have that piece coming down like that. So there we go, reunited, it was meant to be. And luckily I hadn't stitched down. So let's have a hunt for what we want in the way of goldy beads. Got these little ones too. They're actually a bit more natural than even that first one I put on, so I'm actually inclined probably to take that first one off as well. We can change our minds, can't we? Okay, now we'll go with these little ones. I've got 3 of them, which should be perfect, I think. Need to recut our thread because it got a bit scuffed at the end. So it's Tuesday night here, but as I say, you'll be seeing this video quite a bit after I've made it, because this square will need to get finished and packaged up and on its way to Giusi. I do like to keep the surprise for the person that's receiving it to see it for the first time rather than seeing it on a video, but then to have that joy of being able to see the love that went into creating it. And this bead is not going to want to go, so I might need to just switcheroo on my needles to a thinner beady needle, which aren't always my favourite needles, but that's okay. Just make sure before I thread my needle that it will actually fit over this needle. Yes, it does. Good-o. Nothing worse than threading your needle and then finding it still doesn't fit. Well, I mean, there's probably many things worse actually than that, but just being a bit melodramatic, I think. Oops, simply got a knot. Yes, we've got a knot. That's the other thing that can happen. You put a knot in your thread. Can we untangle the knot? Let's hope we can. Ah, yay. But we've unthreaded our needle in the process. It's going to be slow going tonight, folks. Hope you're in for a nice Zen experience, besides the unthreading of the needles. Okay, so yeah, I think that's really sweet to just have those little French knots and the different beads. So we'll tie that off, or unless we want to use, I think this thread's a little bit too light to use for the stamens. Oh, maybe I could use a little bit actually. Before I do that, I'll just put a few of my little stamens down with this, and then I'll use a darker bit of the variegated thread. This will just give a bit of light and life to the stamens. do 3 in this colour and that will be enough, and then I'll come in with a darker yellow. Still a decent bit of sized bit of thread, so I can just save that for something else. And then let me find a point where I've got a nice dark bit to use. Just move my beads out of the way because no doubt I'll end up making them go tumbling. Probably should actually close them. I wasn't sure if at some point I might use some of these little sequins as well, but we can come back to sequins once we've got the piece a bit more stitched. Just using this darker yellow to add in some more little stamens on either side of my whites. Probably add just one more coming down there. The Aurifil is actually a really nice thread to stitch with as well. And when I'm doing these stitches, I'm just popping up next to where I did the previous one just to sort of minimise the amount of thread being wasted on the back. I think that's pretty good. And then we'll get into some thread painting of the flower, which you know that I love doing. And quite a few of you have said that you're still sort of, practicing and learning. I'm still absolutely learning. I'm not an expert, and I'm looking forward to using that book I got recently to really get stuck into learning more techniques about it. So I use this needle. And let's start, actually maybe let's start with I might leave the darkest, no actually I'll do the darkest first and then I can lay the other threads around it, I think. How do you approach yours? Do you do darkest first or lightest, or do you vary it? I'm thinking I'm going to more pick out sort of sections of this rather than covering it all in threads. I just want the sort of the threads to be adding some accents to it. Made a real mess of that knot. So I guess if I start at the center and just start adding some little stitches, and again just using regular sewing cotton for this because I do want that fineness of stitches, because this has very fine detailing on it, so I didn't want to use a heavy perlé or anything like that. I wanted to keep it subtle. So I'm picking out with this red thread just these darkest reddy pinky areas. And just putting some little stitches in following the lines of the petals. You can probably barely see it because it is such fine cotton, but it's just going to add beautiful subtle detail, and I'm just going to work around and find all these darkest bits and put my little stitches in. And you can improvise a bit here if you feel there should be, maybe if you're wanting to do, like if there was only 2 there and I felt there should sort of be 3 there, I can just improvise it. In this case there is a third that's a slight bit fainter than the others. I think that's going to work well. Even though it's slightly more reddy than pinky, I think it will give a nice depth to it. So thread painting is definitely not a fast activity. Definitely not something to do if you're impatient in your stitching. But it does add a lovely effect. Now I'm just going to pop a little thread out through here and couch down the middle part of this thread just to pull it over a bit and have it just go on a slight angle, because that's how the design goes. Obviously if I don't unthread my needle, that's even better. So I'm just going to catch the thread that I want to sort of bend with my couching stitch and pull it over, and then just put a little stitch in back through the hole that I popped out. And as you can see, hopefully you can see, it's just bent the stitch in the direction I wanted it to go. Been another warm day here, and it rained for all of a minute. I heard the pitter patter outside. I was just doing some work, and I went running downstairs because I had a few sets of sheets on the line and some blankets and things. But then, yeah, by the time I was inside, it had stopped raining. I could have left it out, but anyway, it was all dried. Put it out last night when it was sort of blowing with a really hot northerly wind. Keep unthreading, don't I? Must be this needle, or is it just me today? I don't know. I always feel like I unthread more when I'm on video, but maybe I'm just less focused on it when it happens. When I'm stitching, I just go, oh well. Whereas on video, I feel a bit like a klutz. Especially when I almost did it again, but no, we saved the day. This needle's actually got a funny sort of like almost rectangular end on it. I think it's one of my vintage needles possibly. So I'm going to probably do another couchy style stitch here. So put my stitch partially in, and then where I want it to bend a bit, I'm going to just catch it with a thread and then pop back in that same thread hole on the other side of my thread. So it will just make the stitch bend like Beckham. I was trying to teach Travis the dog, how to play soccer with his feet. I was saying, bend it like Beckham, but he wanted to just, not play soccer. Wanted to grab the soccer ball in his mouth and run around with it. So that's okay too. It's good that he's got his own personality, own interests. He's like, no, Mum, I don't want to play that game. We play a different game. I take the soccer ball, you chase me. Went to the vet this week. Alex took him to the vet. Apparently the vet was asking about what Travis eats, and then when was told that he has his vegetables and tuna and sardines and human grade mince and whole cut steaks and poached chicken. She said, wow, he eats very well. But no, because pet food is not regulated, and so there's no accountability on them to actually make sure that they're using good ingredients and not causing harm to our animals, I won't feed Travis pet food. I feed him human grade food. Even the other day I was at the supermarket and getting some tins of tuna and sardines, and I think the people behind thought I was buying a lot for myself, but I said, no, they're for my dog. So the vet was very pleased with how he's going. We probably just need to be slightly less generous with the food. He does eat very well. But he's pretty lean looking, but he's definitely not as lean as how he used to be. So it's just that thing like all of us, isn't it, where we tend to just put on a little bit all over a longer period of time, and then you look in the mirror one day and you're like, where did that come from? So there you go. So that's us adding some some shading. And now, just so you can sort of start to see the effect coming together, I'll now move in and sort of add some of the next colour, and I'll use this variegated, which will help, I think, as well. It's a bit more peachy coloured, but I think it's going to work. I might switch needles because that's not my favourite needle. What have I got in here? Or have I got one of my favourites in my little... I think we'll use that one. Something I'm guilty of. I was watching Sarah Homfrey, and she's was talking about how important it is to replace your needles regularly. I don't think I've ever thrown away a needle unless it actually breaks, but I probably should go through. New year and new needles maybe. So I'll then start just adding stitches in this next colour, extending out from the other stitches, the darker stitches. And again, I don't want to cover the whole design, I just want to add beautiful, beautiful accents. It's actually really nice stitching into this fabric sort of on top of another fabric. It forms a really, really lovely base. Again, I might couch down this thread, so I'll pull it most of the way through, but then I'll just work out where I want it to sort of bend around, pop my needle out, let my thread catch on it, and then just anchor it down a smidge. It only gave it a little bend. So I did quite a big stitch there, so I'm actually going to put another little stitch that will just radiate out from it, but also couch it down as well in the process. Another little one next to it. So I'm just filling in this sort of next shaded area, well, not filling it in, but just highlighting it with these radiating stitches in this beautiful glistening Aurifil variegated thread. And I'm just following the sort of lines on the design, but also trying to get that sort of, that movement of the petal in the way the lines sort of wrap around. So I just wanted to give you a feel of this. I won't do all of the stitching of this square on camera, but I want to give you a taste of it. I do love doing some thread stitching and just watching some crafty videos while I do it, listening to what my stitchy buddies have been up to. So I do hope Giusi is going to like this. She's someone that yeah, so full of positive energy that I just thought this fabric is perfect for her. It's bright and vibrant and lovely. And I think she likes, yeah, likes the look of thread painting, so I thought I'd do some of that for her. I think when people get something that's thread painted, they can sort of see the level of, yeah, stitching that's gone into it. And I definitely know that the people I'm sending squares to appreciate the stitching, so it's nice to do it for them. It's not like giving it to someone who might look and just go, oh yeah, and then, yeah, pop it in a drawer or something. You know your stitchy friends are going to know the work that's gone into something and treasure it for that reason. And for the fact that it's created specially for them, with them in mind. So there is a prompt for this round of the Great Big Little Stitchery Swap, but it's not a compulsory prompt, but it's my favourite. And so yeah, I definitely love flowers, love fruits, love thread painting, so I think this fits the brief for sure. So there we go, that's that next level of shading done. As you can see on the back, I did some more stitches on the back on this one, not as much popping up and down next to it because I was wanting to kind of radiate out from the centre. But it's going to make a very nice and interesting back for Giusi to look at. So I wonder then, do we go with that colour or do we move on to our paler pink, or do we maybe move on to this one? I just don't know if this pink will go with it, and I also don't know where the end of it, it's just a little vintage thread I've got. I'm trying to find where its little tail might be. I bet you're looking at it going, just look there. I don't know, is that... Maybe one of these ends would help me locate the tail. Ah, there we go, we've found it. So yeah, I can probably use this one. It is quite light. Again, it's a vintage thread, so I'll have to see how it is on the strength side of things. So then let's start bringing it But no, I think that's going to work. You can sort of see that beautiful little glisten coming out from it, and it's just adding more detailing. Apologies, my stomach is making little grumbling noises, but it had a very good dinner tonight. Should not be hungry. So again, you can do thread painting where you're virtually covering everything, or you can do this more sort of accenting style, where you're just wanting to still let the beauty of the fabric shine through, especially when it is such a pretty fabric. And you're just adding your own detailing to it. So when you're starting out with thread painting, try and pick a fabric, if you're going to do this style, a fabric that's got sort of lots of little guide lines on it, which will help you with direction and things. Pick a fabric that you like. And then treat it like a paint by numbers sort of thing. need to come back into this area with the darker thread as well, I think. Just get a few little lighter ones laid down. And I'll need to use the slightly darker colour around the edges as well to do those edgy pieces. Just interspersing these in again. Yeah, from a distance you might not even immediately know that it's thread painted, but then when you start to look at it you see all the little details. So I might even just add some of this detailing here on the outside, and then I'll use the slightly darker further around. So again, just thinking what direction. So here the petal's sort of curving, so I'm trying to just sort of evoke that with my stitch direction. Then I'll come around here, put a few more. So just adding a bit more of this lighter pink shading in. It's funny how the thread can look quite yeah, quite dark on the roll, but it comes out quite light because it is just a single strand, so you get that really delicate effect that you wouldn't get if you were doing a thicker thread. So I absolutely do like using regular cottons, and I might even have to add a few more pinks, vintage pinks, to my collection, so I'll keep an eye out for them. Okay, and we'll just do around here. Be good to get this sort of petal section done on video. Won't be helped if I unthread my needle. So that's how it's looking so far, which, yeah, really happy with, and I do like the fact that it's got that sort of more intense red in the centre. Just get that tied off on the back. And we can probably do the whiter colour one using this pink, I think. So it's going to be pretty pale, and I don't want to use a whitey white. I still want to keep it in the pink tones. And then we'll come back and do the darker on the edging of this petal. So as you can see, I haven't totally covered in the petal, but I've added plenty of little detailing stitches, which gives something lovely to feel as well. I like my work to feel interesting as well as looking interesting, and just having those little hidden surprises as well, whether it's the stitches or the little hidden flippy bit with the French laundry labels on it. I think that's fun. Hopefully I've managed to stay on camera tonight. Sometimes I struggle, even despite best endeavours. So again, I'm just using the pale pink just to sort of fill in the, well, not fill in, but to scatter around the pale area, and just following the direction of the existing stitches. Except where the petal, like at this outer edge, starts to curl a bit, then I can just lay the stitches in a slightly different way to give that sense. So yeah, if you get lucky to find some vintage cottons and they seem strong and still intact, good to buy them. Even if they're not vintage, just to add them to your collection, because I think you'll find that they are versatile in your slow stitch projects, not just stitching down backgrounds or things or doing invisible stitching, but also doing decorative stitching. And if you get lucky to find variegated ones, definitely pick those up. And then put your threads somewhere like me, right next to where you are, so you can easily access them. Don't keep them locked away in a box somewhere where you won't be able to get to them and use them. It's about putting the things that you want to use most frequently close to where your work area is, because that will make you much more likely to use them. That's why I've prioritised all my threads and fibres and little embellishments sort of close by. So that's with the lighter pink, which you can probably barely see, but it is there. And now we'll just come back around the outside and use our medium pink, I think. Just wondering why, I think I got a little loop at the back, so I might just catch that down with this thread. And I might even come through with a bit of the red at the very outer edge as well. Let me just catch down this one that was naughtily. So if you do get that a loop on the back, it's good just to sort of stitch it down if you can, so that it doesn't become a problem, doesn't become loose on the front. And then I'll just do lots of fine little stitches here. Just over this little border area where we do have a bit more darkness. Again, you might not see that much, but I can see that I've got my little stitches around the edge, just adding that extra little detail. And bring in a longer stitch down where the sort of the petal has a little divide. Oops, try not to notch our thread. And just extending these little darker ones just slightly down into the lighter stitching, and then up to the border. So there you go. That is the first of our petals done, and I think that's just going to look really fantastic once that's done all the way around, even if I do say so myself. And yeah, I'll go away and I'll finish doing that. I'll probably also, it depends actually, because the lace will be covering some of our leaves, so I'll see whether we do actually end up doing any thread painting on the leaves, or we might even just do it down on the strawberry down here, or we might just leave the thread painting on the flower, so that's the really sort of, yeah, the focal point, and then we'll come back and do some of our embellishment together. So there will probably be a second video, there definitely will be a second video showing you the progressed piece and then finishing off the piece so it can be sent. So thanks so much for watching this one, and keep an eye out for that next one, which will probably either be available straight away or might be available the day after, but this will only be played once Giusi has received her Stitchery swap. Thanks so much everyone, and take care, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.